Business continuity testing exists to answer a simple but uncomfortable question. Do the plans actually work when reality intrudes? Written plans often assume ideal conditions, full staffing, perfect information, and unlimited time, none of which are guaranteed during a real disruption. Testing introduces friction by forcing people to operate within constraints, make decisions with incomplete data, and coordinate across functions under pressure. The value is not in confirming that the document looks complete, and it is in discovering where assumptions fail and where people hesitate. Continuity only exists if it can be executed, and execution must be practiced to be reliable. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to the CISS books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyberauthor.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Testing objectives gives structure to these efforts by confirming that critical functions can continue and that responsibilities remain clear when normal operations are disrupted. Objectives should articulate which outcomes matter most, such as maintaining customer service, protecting life safety, preserving regulatory obligations, or sustaining revenue-generating activities. They should also confirm that decision authority is understood because confusion about who can approve actions is a common failure mode. Well-defined objectives prevent exercises from drifting into abstract discussion and keep focus on operational outcomes. When objectives are explicit, participants can evaluate success based on results rather than on how smoothly the conversation flowed. Tabletop exercises are a common starting point because they walk participants through decisions, communications, and coordination steps without touching live systems. In a tabletop, a scenario unfolds over time, and participants describe what they would do, who they would contact, and how they would prioritize actions. The strength of a tabletop is that it exposes gaps in understanding, conflicting assumptions, and unclear handoffs before those issues become operational failures. It also allows senior leaders to practice decision-making in a low-risk setting where trade-offs can be discussed openly. A tabletop is most effective when it is facilitated to challenge assumptions rather than to confirm comfort. Functional exercises go a step further by validating specific procedures that require action rather than discussion. These exercises might test relocating staff to an alternate site, switching to manual processing for a critical workflow, or activating an alternate communications channel. Functional testing reveals practical issues such as missing equipment, outdated contact lists, or procedures that are too slow to meet recovery expectations. It also tests muscle memory because people must perform tasks rather than merely describe them. Functional exercises bridge the gap between planning and execution by showing whether documented steps can actually be followed under realistic conditions. Technical exercises focus on validating system availability and the execution of recovery procedures that support business continuity. These exercises may involve restoring systems from backup, failing over to alternate infrastructure, or validating that applications can operate from a secondary environment. Technical testing often uncovers dependencies, configuration gaps, or capacity limits that are invisible in documentation. It also tests coordination between technical teams and business stakeholders because restoration priorities must align with operational needs. Without technical exercises, organizations risk assuming that recovery designs work simply because they were engineered, not because they were proven. The right participants make or break continuity testing, because continuity spans far beyond information technology alone. Business owners provide clarity on what functions truly matter and what trade-offs are acceptable. Operations teams understand day-to-day workflows and how disruptions ripple through processes. Security teams contribute insight on access control, monitoring, and incident coordination during disruptions. Facilities and communications teams address physical access, workspace availability, and messaging to employees and external stakeholders. Including the right mix ensures that continuity is treated as an organizational capability rather than as a technical checklist.
Assumptions deserve explicit attention during testing because unspoken assumptions are often the root cause of continuity failure. Exercises should document what participants assume about staffing availability, supplier responsiveness, system behavior, and decision authority. When reality differs from those assumptions, gaps become visible and actionable.
For example, an assumption that a vendor will respond immediately may not hold during a regional disaster that affects multiple customers simultaneously. By surfacing assumptions, testing converts implicit beliefs into explicit risks that can be mitigated or accepted deliberately. Dependencies are another critical focus area because continuity plans often rely on suppliers and shared services that are outside direct control. Testing should review whether those dependencies are truly available under the scenario being exercised. This includes verifying contact methods, escalation paths, and contractual commitments, as well as understanding geographic or infrastructure overlap that could cause simultaneous failure. Dependency review also highlights where single points of failure exist in shared services such as identity systems or network connectivity. When dependencies are examined during testing, organizations can adjust plans before a real event exposes those weaknesses. Communication flow is central to continuity, and exercises should evaluate timeliness, accuracy, and consistency of messages. This includes internal updates to staff, coordination messages among teams, and external communications to customers, partners, or regulators where applicable. Testing often reveals delays in approval, unclear ownership of messaging, or inconsistent information being shared across channels. These issues can amplify disruption even when technical recovery is progressing well. Practicing communication under simulated stress helps teams refine templates, approval processes, and escalation rules so messages support stability rather than confusion. Decision records are an often overlooked but valuable outcome of continuity exercises. Capturing approvals, escalations, and priority choices during an exercise creates a trace of how decisions were made and why. This record supports after-action review by showing where authority was clear and where it was contested or delayed. It also provides evidence that governance structures are understood and exercised. Decision records turn abstract governance into observable behavior, which is essential for accountability and improvement. Issues identified during testing must be tracked deliberately, or the value of the exercise evaporates quickly. Each issue should be documented with an owner, a timeline for resolution, and a clear expectation for validation. This applies equally to procedural gaps, technical deficiencies, and organizational weaknesses, such as unclear roles or outdated contact information. Tracking issues ensures that exercises lead to tangible improvement rather than repeated rediscovery of the same problems. When issue closure is validated, confidence in the continuity program grows because progress is visible and measurable. Continuity plans cannot remain static because organizations change constantly through system migrations, restructurings, and staffing shifts. Testing provides an opportunity to identify where plans no longer reflect reality and must be updated. Incorporating changes promptly prevents drift between documentation and actual operations. Plan updates should be versioned, communicated, and integrated into future testing so improvements are reinforced. Continuity planning is not a one-time project, and it is an ongoing maintenance effort that testing keeps honest. Metrics help quantify readiness and improvement by measuring completion rates, time to act, and closure speed for identified issues. Metrics should focus on behavior and outcomes rather than on the number of documents produced. For example, measuring how quickly a team escalates a decision during an exercise can be more informative than counting how many people attended. Metrics also support trend analysis, showing whether the organization is becoming faster, clearer, and more coordinated over time. When used thoughtfully, metrics reinforce learning rather than turning exercises into performance theater. Business continuity testing ultimately turns plans into practiced organizational behavior, which is the only form of continuity that survives real disruption. Tabletop discussions build shared understanding, functional exercises test execution, and technical exercises validate the systems that underpin critical services. By involving the right participants, documenting assumptions, reviewing dependencies, and refining communication, organizations uncover weaknesses before they are exploited by circumstance. Tracking issues, updating plans, and measuring readiness ensure that testing leads to improvement rather than complacency. When continuity is practiced regularly, the organization responds to disruption with coordination and confidence instead of surprise and improvisation. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.